Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Zarina, your upland neighbor, bringing you the floors and other news today in this episode. I actually have someone who I'm really happy to get to present to you all in this episode today, so stay tuned for that. But before we head on to anything else, I want to talk about some updates that maybe people are a little bit confused about, so let's go ahead and get into it. To burn or not to burn? That is the question. So right now, Upland does have an event going on where you can burn some legits, and let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, guys, so right now, Upland has the St. Patty's legits and block explorers where you can burn them. What happens is you have to burn them in the right combination to get these leprechauns, a random leprechaun. So you just saw there's one of the three of them. The thing is, you have to try to collect them, if like burning the right combinations, and if you don't know what you're doing, you might end up messing up your burns and not burning correctly. So make sure you do burn in the combinations that Upland lists on its sites, upland.me. You can go to events, and then you can see what I just got in the background going on, telling you what order to burn those legits in. Afterwards, you might be like, what happened? Like, I burned it and nothing happened, and I don't know if I burned it right. So go ahead and listen to how to burn correctly coming up right next. This is how you burn. You have to go into your assets, and once you do, you want to make sure that you're looking at the right stuff. So you might have to look into your block explorers, because you might have block explorers that are burnable, and you can see a burn symbol next to them. And then you might have to look into your legits, because some people got legits from their packages, and those legits also will have a burn symbol next to them. And then you'll press burn that you want to burn it. And when you do that, it's going to ask you if you want to proceed. And so make sure you are actually clear that you want to proceed, because if you burn it, it goes away for good. You will get an email later on telling you, like, hey, here's your certificate of burning your NFT token. And that's your proof that you burn that, so that you can prove you burn the right combos, so that you should receive that map asset. Also, every time you burn one of these during the event, you get an entry. And I believe there's 5 lucky people who will win 0.2 Spark, and I think 10 lucky people who will be winning 50k UPX. So when you burn, you get an entry. So the more you burn, the more entries you get. And that might be something you want to do. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the floor. It's been 2 weeks since my last update. I last gave you guys an update on March 1st, and here we are on the 14th, and this is our comparison. I still have the people who are in jail listed, so that you guys can avoid clicking on those when you're trying to go buy properties, and just save yourself some time. Nothing much going on too much on these cities right here, Arlington through Dallas. We have some downs, but the downs aren't drastic, and we have some ups, and the only up that's really pretty decent is Buenos Aires, going up to $4.20. And that's a pretty big up, because a lot of these cities are at a $3.15 floor, and this is with the 5% tax included. So this is the overall total prices that you're seeing. So Buenos Aires coming up to $4.20 beats out Los Angeles, so kind of cool. Here's Detroit. We got a few people in jail in there, so it's taking up a bit of the screen. But Detroit's coming up. It's 5,000 UPX. It's not too shabby. $3.15 for the floor, which I said is a lot of cities are at that $3.15 floor these days. Fresno coming up a little bit. It's just a little bit, nothing too big. Miami coming a little bit back up, and Porto reaching 8,819 UPX. That is not too bad, especially because there are a few people who are FSA owners in Porto, so they're not setting that UPX floor too shabby. Nothing to complain about. Of course, $3.15 for the floor. Looking at Queens, it's 6,299 UPX. It went down just a bit. And on the dollar side, $3.15. Rio, which, it's almost like Detroit. So it's kind of funny that Buenos Aires is doing so much better than Rio, but that's the case. Rutherford's coming up nicely, even though it's going down. It's still in the 50,000 UPX range, which that's a big come up from when it kind of shot down and people crashed the floor in Rutherford. So to see it back up in the 50,000 range, even though that's actually a decrease, is still nice. On the dollar side, $19.43. It's seen better days, and that's kind of a drop, but we'll see what happens. San Francisco also down on both fronts, UPX and on the dollar side, but nothing too drastic. Santa Clara is nicely coming up, 45,000 UPIX, not too far behind Rutherford. And we'll see what happens because Santa Clara is a great place for hunting. So I feel like the more people realize that Santa Clara is a really nice spot for hunting, the more we'll see those prices come up. Sao Paulo's not doing too bad either, but, nothing to holler home about really. All right, our last take a look is this new one, which got South Lake Tahoe in it. We don't have anything to compare it to because it wasn't open 2 weeks ago, but here's where we are with our starting floor for $19,688 and $8.98, just shy of the $9 mark. I predicted that we're going to see these go down even further in a couple weeks because that's just what people do, but I'm just telling you, don't FOMO out right now and try to fill in all your collections that you didn't get because you're just in a rush. You just take your time. It's not too long, to wait to fill them in. So I'm just kind of giving you that advice. Like you can see these other floors, $3.15 all over the place. Not that South Lake Tahoe will go down that far, but just be patient. Staten Island, it's interesting that it used to be higher than $3.15 floor too, and it's been going down, 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 and you can see where it's at. But it's actually pulling itself up a little bit on the UPIX side. Now Stockton, that's a big drop. I'm not sure if it's because of that release that they did, that the more Stockton you get, the lower the price is going to go. But that's a pretty steep drop where you're at in Stockton. So, that's where you're looking at. Now it's $3.15. That is a drop too. Tokyo coming up a little bit, 17,616, but it's seen better days as well, even though that's come up. And the dollar site, $6.82. So I don't know if the Tokyo craze is going to last, but it looks like it's fading out. Trenton also went down, 4,515. It didn't previously have a dollar floor for me to look at. It was $3.15 today, and that is the floor for you. Now for my something special. So Wizzo, thanks for agreeing to speak with me. One question, or the first question is, how long have you played Upland?
3-year mark right now.
3 years.
I started back in the Spud Wars. It was before Spark was even out.
Wow. Yes, I don't think a lot of people even know about the Spud Wars before Spark was out, but that pretty much makes you a big time OG. How did you determine to go, I guess if you've been playing forever, but how did you determine to go for earning those max gamified earnings?
Well, really, I was kind of nervous when they were talking about they were going to slash the earnings like they did the first time. So this time that they actually gave us an opportunity to sort of preserve our yield, I seized the opportunity as soon as they gave it. The easiest way that I went about kind of achieving the earnings was, most of it is stuff that you do on a normal everyday gameplay, buying and selling the properties, logging in, the races if you're into that, and that's part of your gameplay. The ornaments and building, that's pretty much what a player should be doing constantly. So some of the stuff was pretty much just a given. Like if you were to just accept doing the basic 5 that you would get to maintain your earnings in the 14, you really didn't have to do much. You just kind of had to just, be there. To go for the boost, the only thing that really gave me the hardest challenge was the competition treasure hunts. And that's only because really I just do the standards. The people that are professionals at the treasure hunt, they get them too fast. So it makes it a little bit difficult. But figuring out that this is kind of like a game, you just got to kind of figure out how to game the system. So to get the competitive hunts, what I did was I just searched out the cities that were actually offering them. And then I looked at who was hunting in each of those cities. And the ones that had a lot of the pros, I just avoided. And then I waited until the last 2 hours, hour and a half before the sends rolled over. So most of the professionals had hunted out most of the early part of the day and were out of sends. So at the end, it was kind of like not as hard and not as many players to compete against to grab a competitive treasure hunt.
So that's really clever. What time is the end of the day, like your time?
My time, the end of the day, is 3 a.m.
Oh. What would that be, like Pacific time, like most, like the Upland time?
So Pacific time, I know when they do the releases, they usually go off at 9, so that's 12 my time. So 3 my time would probably be 11 Pacific time, maybe somewhere around in there.
Yeah, it's 12, 1, 2, wait, no, wait. 3 your time, 3 hours back is going to be noon.
Well, it's PM. Well,
Oh.
AM here, but it's
Oh,
already.
whoa, okay. Yeah, it's a big difference.
So, like with me, I look out the my day job in real life is usually like overnights. So that's my mid shift is the time when most people are not playing, so
Yeah,
kind of favors it a bit.
that's good. Worked out for you. What tips or suggestions would you provide to new players on achieving what you accomplished?
A brand new player that just started off, if they were like maybe just an upland or a pro, their best bet would be to do the basic 5 to get the 14% yield until they amass enough assets to do the races or maybe have a nice treasure web or treasure hunting web where they can do the hunts a little bit more proficient. They're probably not going to have too many ornaments or enough spark to build anything to achieve some of those goals. So, I would tell them to just chip at it slowly and keep working on building up the assets so that they can actually compete for all of the tasks.
Good. That's great advice, and I think that's something new players do need to kind of realize. Like they have to work their way up to be able to compete with people who've been doing it longer. What was your?
I've been in.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Go
I've been
ahead.
in forever. I've
Yeah,
been
you've
in
been.
for a long time, and I'm still learning the curve and still trying to get up. It's a never-ending process. You're always building every day. So, as long as you stay at it and just keep working, they'll get there.
Well, you already gave me your strategy for winning those treasure hunts, so I won't ask that. But what would you like to see as a gamification challenge for yield earnings?
Well, if they keep it the same tasks every season, then it allows the player to actually plan that into their strategy. So say you had a limited amount of spark and you need to complete 3 builds. You can start a build in a previous season so that it finishes in the next season and it can count towards your tasks. You can also, by competing or completing the same task, you'll get better at them as you do them more and more and more and more. So I'm hoping Upland actually changes the tasks every once in a while and makes it a little bit more exciting and more competitive to try to achieve all of these. I'd actually like them to add a couple more tasks and make the boost a little bit higher, but that's wishful thinking.
I hope you're right. I hope they do that because after a while, if it's too repetitive, you're right. Like it will be the same old thing and people will start mastering it. But if they change it up a little bit, that'll add some more, like, I guess, more gamification, less predictability. And
And
then,
that's what
yeah.
is the gamification part is what draws them in to actually play, because if you do something repetitive, you get bored of it and you want to put it down. So if they keep it active, it'll keep the people with a challenge. Plus, they can also use their tasks to help guide or steer the economy the way they want. So say if you require people to buy more secondary properties, that helps boost the secondary market. If you say you have to buy an FSA property, that helps the newer players sell some of their properties to the older players because they'll be picking them up. You can they can craft the tasks to fill in gaps where they need things to either speed up or slow down. So it was a good approach of what they did, and it also forces players to play. You actually
Right.
have to be part of the community to be in it, which then makes you a better player, gaining more assets. So it it kind of edges people into the way they want. Same thing as this new car drop
Mm-hmm.
that they had, where you could only go to Tahoe with a car. A lot of players were skipping out on getting cars. Now it's forcing you to get the car so that when they implement driving full, full stop, everybody will be prepared for it. So I see how they kind of like give you a little crumb, let you play with it for a little while, and then they just kind of build the cookie as you go. It's not a bad model. I'm a fan of it so far because there was a lot of complaints about the earnings. Everybody was upset about it, but
Mm-hmm.
rather than a straight cut, this this boosts the community activity. You know, this causes everybody to actually be a part of the economy. So this was good part of the game.
Well, thank you so much. It's been great talking to you, and I'm glad that with all the things you've said is making me feel pretty positive. But yeah, any last tips that you want to leave before we head off?
Most people only know me from Coffee and Rant from Discord, so I'm gonna leave it with that.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Good night. All right, everybody, that's it for me for tonight. Thank you so much to WIZO4247 for providing all that great insight, giving us the tips on how to succeed at those seasonal contests if they have the same type of competitions again, which they might. Definitely remember the advice that WIZO4247 gave out. What a sage, what an OG vet. Thanks so much for him being on. Also, guys, if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe, please do me a solid and hit it right now. Also, stay tuned for future updates and leave a comment. I appreciate you guys. Happy hunting. I'll see you in Upland.